The moons around the dead planet were silent. No birds, no wind, just dust, rusted stones, and memories. Long ago, aliens had ruled this place. Now only their graveyards remained. Jace was a human scavenger. He didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in old tech, spare parts, and good credits. His ship, the Rust Fox, was parked just outside the broken fence of the alien cemetery. Most humans avoided this place. They called it cursed. They said the dead screamed at night. Jace didn't care. He had bills to pay. With a flashlight in one hand and a scanner in the other, Jace stepped into the cemetery. The ground was dry and cracked. Strange alien writing was carved into crooked gravestones. Some graves were deep holes. Others were stone boxes sealed long ago. He checked his scanner. Nothing. No power sources. No heat signatures. Just cold readings everywhere until one small blip appeared. It was faint. Almost nothing. But still, something. Jace narrowed his eyes and followed the signal. The grave was different, newer than the others. Less dust on it. The stones looked forced into place. The scanner beeped against off pulse. Very weak. But alive. Jace blinked. That couldn't be. This was a cemetery. The dead don't blink. He hesitated, then knelt beside the stone box. His fingers brushed the cracks in the lid.
Something made
Him stop. A sound. A whisper so soft. It was almost the wind, but not quite. He leaned closer again. A whisper. Jace jumped back, heart pounding. He stared at the stone, wasn't imagining it. He heard it. Someone was inside. "Hello?" he called, voice shaky. No answer. He placed his ear to the lid. "Don't leave." Cold fear gripped his chest. Someone was alive in there, buried. "Hold on," he said, voice stronger now. He pulled his pack around, grabbing tools. "Getting you out." He worked fast, cutting, lifting, breaking the seal. The stone was heavier than it looked. His hands bled. His arms shook. But finally, the top slid off with a loud groan. And inside, a girl, alien, barely moving. Her skin was pale blue, lips cracked and dry. Her eyes were closed, but her chest moved. Slowly, carefully. She looked young, no older than 20 in human years. Thin, weak, wrapped in torn ceremonial fabric, like some kind of ritual. Her long white hair stuck to her face, covered in dust and sweat. Jace stared in disbelief. "How are you still alive?" The girl opened her eyes just a little. They glowed faintly soft gold. Beautiful, but full of pain. Her lips moved. "You came back," she whispered. Jace blinked. "Back." She fainted. He reached in, gently lifting her out. She weighed almost nothing. Bones and skin. He wrapped her in his coat and rushed back toward the Rust Fox. Inside, he placed her on a med cot and hooked her to a life scanner. The screen flickered, then beeped his alive. Weak, dehydrated, but alive. Jace stared at her. "Who buried?" "You," he asked, even though she couldn't answer. He wiped dust from her face. She was beautiful. Delicate features, long lashes, strange markings on her cheek, tribal ceremonial, and bruises. Too many. He sat beside her, heart still racing. They left her to die in a grave. Who would do that? Got a why? Outside the ship, the cemetery was silent again. The wind blew across forgotten stones, and somewhere far away an old satellite blinked. Sensing movement that should not exist. Back inside. The alien girl stirred in her sleep. Jace whispered to himself, "What did I just dig up?" But the question wasn't about death. It was about secrets. And someone, somewhere, was watching asterisk inside the dim light of the Rust Fox. The alien girl lay wrapped in a thermal blanket. Jace had turned the ship's heat up. Her skin was still cold, too cold. Her breathing was shallow, like someone dreaming through pain. Jace sat beside her, elbows on his knees, staring at her face. He had found many strange things in the galaxy-old weapons, broken AI cores, even an alien skull once. But never this, never someone buried alive. and still alive. Her name. He needed her name. He leaned closer. "Can you hear me?" Her golden eyes opened just a little. They shimmered in the soft ship light. Then softly she whispered, "Ilari." The voice was dry, cracked. Barely a whisper. Jace poured some water into a cup and helped her sip. She drank like someone who had forgotten the taste. Then, shaking, she said, "Don't take me back. Please, don't let them find me." Jace frowned. Who buried you?" She looked away. Her own people?" Ilari struggled too. "Sit up. They said I was cursed. Unclean. I saw things I was not meant to see." She winced and coughed hard, pain racking her thin body. Jace gently eased her back down. "Rest. You're safe here." But she shook her head. "Now they'll come. They always know." Suddenly the ship's console beeped. Soft, slow ping. Unusual scan detected. Jace stood, checking the radar. A signal brief. Faint, then gone. Like something had passed by and scanned them. From the upper orbit of the moon, no identification. His hands tightened on the console. They were already searching. Ilari watched him with tired eyes. "You should have left me," Jace turned. "I don't leave people in graves." Silence. Ilari seemed to almost smile, but there was too much sadness in her face. Her fingers curled weakly around the blanket. "I was a speaker of peace. That's what they called me. But I saw something I wasn't supposed to. A hidden chamber beneath the temple. Machines that breathed. Weapons older than our history they told me to forget." She paused, eyes distant. "I spoke instead." Jace sat back. "So they silenced you." "They didn't kill me outright," she said. "Too public. Too risky. Instead they made a ritual. A lie. A ceremony of release, they called it. But it was a burial. Alive. Sealed in holy stone. With slow poison and silence, Jace felt sick. "That's murder," she nodded. "Wrapped in honor. Dressed in betrayal." He looked at her again, bruises on her arms. The cuts near her neck. The symbols etched in ash on her hands. All signs of a fake death, right? They buried a truth teller. Now she was awake again. Outside, the ship rocked slightly. Jace turned fast. What was that? Another radar ping. Closer this time. He moved to the control panel. Scans showed nothing, but the ship's sensors flickered. "They've found me," Ilari whispered. "They'll come silent, under cloak." Jace grabbed his toolkit and checked the ship's hidden compartments. He wasn't a fighter, but he had tools, old Earth gadgets, even a few EMP grenades. He looked back at Ilari. "I'm not handing you over." Ilari stared at him. "You're different." He gave a tired smile. "Yeah, humans are weird like that." Suddenly, a soft thump hit the side of the ship. Jace's blood froze. He grabbed a plasma cutter and slowly crept toward the hatch. He peered through the side, VIEWPORT. No one there. Then dash tap. Tap tap. The sound echoed from the roof. Something or someone was crawling across the top. Ilari sat up, trembling. "Don't open the door, I won't," Jace said. But he was already moving fast. He slammed the manual lockdown controls. Steel panels sealed the airlock. Emergency lights turned red. Tap, tap, scratch then. Silence. A few seconds passed. Then the radar blinked again. The signal was gone. Whatever it was had vanished. Jace exhaled. Ilari slumped back, exhausted, but her eyes stayed open. "You don't know what they are, do you?" she asked softly. Jace shook his head. "Tell me," she whispered. "Gravewalkers. Silent assassins. They come only when the buried rise again." Jace looked at her with disbelief. "How do we stop them?" "You don't," she said. "You run." And for the first time in years, Jace felt real, feared not for himself, but for her. The ship was drifting now, silent, hidden in the shadow of the dead moon. Jace had powered down the external lights, cut the engines, and scrambled all signals. Like a ghost ship. Like a coffin in the dark. Inside, Ilari sat beside him, wrapped in layers of warmth, still weak, but more alert. Her golden eyes scanned the screens like she had done it 1,000 times. You learned fast, Jace said. I was trained for war, she replied quietly, but I chose peace. That was my mistake. Jace looked at her. I thought you were a priestess? I was, she nodded. But in our world, priestesses are taught war first, then peace, if they survive. He didn't ask more. Not yet. Her words were heavy. And outside, the blackness pressed in like waiting teeth. They had been floating for 4 hours, and the gravewalkers hadn't returned. Jace hoped they'd lost the trail, but Ilari wasn't so sure. They never stop, she said. They don't speak. They don't eat. They don't sleep. Just hunt. That's what they're bred for. Bred, Jace repeated, sitting up straighter. She nodded. Not born. Grown. In underground labs. Out. Built for silence. 4. Cleaning mistakes. Were a mistake? I was a truth, Jace stared at her. He'd seen tyrants before. This. Burying someone alive, then sending creatures to erase the evidence. It was something else. Something darker. And then something flickered on the ship's secondary. Screen, not a ship. Not a signal. A shape. Stationary. Beneath the surface of the moon. What is that? Jace muttered, zooming in. A structure. Buried under rock and ice. Small, square, metallic. Definitely not natural. Not on any map. Ilari leaned forward, eyes narrowing. I know that shape, she whispered. That's one of the vaults. One. Of the forbidden ones, that's where they kept the relics. And the weapons? Jace looked at her. You sure? She nodded. I remember the stories. That vault was sealed before I was born. No one's allowed near it. Even gravewalkers don't go there. Jace sat back, mind racing. So, it's the one place they won't look. She turned slowly toward him, understanding dawning. You want to hide there, Jace? Gave a crooked smile. If it's cursed and forbidden, then it's perfect. Ilari hesitated. You're not afraid? He shook his head. Fear's a luxury. I'm broke. The descent was rough. Moon's gravity was thin, but the rock formations were jagged and sharp. Jace landed the rust fox on a narrow ridge. Near the vault, sensors screamed about radiation and magnetic anomalies. Guess that's why no one checks it, Jace muttered. They stepped out in vacuum suits, snow and ash swirling around them. The vault's door was tall, smooth and half-buried. Symbols glowed faintly along the frame ancient alien script. Ilari touched them. These are warnings. Can you open it? She didn't answer. Instead, she placed her palm against the center symbol. Her hand glowed slightly. The door hissed. Then slowly, it opened. Inside, blackness thick and deep, like a forgotten breath waiting to escape. They stepped in together. The air inside was still. Heavy, old lights flickered as they passed. Dim red, like blood through veins. The hallway was lined with walls of metal and crystal. Strange machines rested inside glass pods. Some were shattered. Others hummed softly like they were dreaming. What is this place? Jace asked, voice echoing. Ilari answered, memory. They reached a circular chamber in the center. The console blinked to life as they approached. But something else caught Jace's eye. Stasis pod, half open. And inside, a body. Human, he stepped closer. It wasn't a corpse, it was armor. Inside that armor was no one. Just light, moving, breathing. A recorded voice echoed from the pod. Human prototype. Project Ember 7. Status. Awaiting command input. Jace's mouth went dry. Ilari turned slowly to him. This vault. Not alien. He nodded slowly. It's Earth tech. But how? This moon had never been charted by humans. Not officially. El Ari stepped back, shaken. They lied. To all of us. They didn't find us. They made us. Jace looked at her. What are you saying? I'm saying, she whispered. Our history, our gods, Our creators might have been human. Suddenly, the vault shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. An alert flared red on the old console. Perimeter breach detected. Jace rushed back to the screen. Multiple signals. Small, fast, cloaked. They found us, he said through gritted teeth. Alari's eyes burned gold again. Then we show them. Now, she whispered, what it means to be found. Asterisk, the walls of the hidden vault pulsed with red light. Warning, breach, incoming. Jace's heart pounded as he locked down the entrance behind them. Alari stood motionless, her hand against the old Earth console, golden eyes wide with something more than fear recognition. They built us, she whispered again, her voice barely above a breath. It wasn't just influence. They made us from the ruins of their own blood. Jace didn't understand, not fully. But there was no time. The Gravewalkers were here. They're cutting through the outer vault doors, Jace said. We've got 10 minutes, maybe less? But Alari didn't move. I remember now, she said. As a child, I was brought to a place like this. I saw the black suits, the silent ones who looked like us but weren't. They spoke words our elders feared. Jace stepped closer. What did they say? She looked up at him. Obedience ensures survival. Truth brings extinction. Jace felt the words crawl across his skin. They didn't just punish you for telling the truth, he said slowly. They feared what the truth would do. Alari nodded. If the people found out what we really are, where we came from, the Empire would burn. Suddenly, another console lit up green this time. Encrypted archive found. Do you wish to? Unlock. Jace looked at her. Should we? Alari didn't answer with words. She pressed her palm to the panel. The room dimmed. A hologram filled the Iran Alien Council chamber. Old and cracked, flickering like a broken memory. In the center, humanyoung.com, dressed in Black Earth command armor. He stood among Alari's ancestors, clearly superior, clearly in control. The human spoke. We gave you language, culture, fire. In return, you swore to hide what we gave. To forget Earth, to bury your origin deep so no one would ever know. One of the alien leaders bowed. We have erased all traces. The human nodded. If any rise to remember, we will silence them. The message ended. Jace stared at the spot where the hologram faded. Alari was trembling. It was never about me, she whispered. It was about them, keeping the lie alive. Suddenly, the room vibrated. The outer blast door gone. They're inside, Jace said, backing away from the entrance. They'll be here in seconds. He raised his cutter. We hold them off, whatever it takes. But Alari stepped in front of him. No. She pressed something on the side of the console. A second door hissed open behind the man escape tunnel, long and dark, winding into the mountain. You need to survive, she said. Take the archive. Take the truth. Go. Jace shook his head. I'm not leaving you. You must, she shouted. They'll only follow me. I'm the mark. You're the only one who can tell the galaxy what they did. Jace looked at her, really looked. This woman who had been buried alive, betrayed by her own kind, hunted for the crime of remembering. She was broken, fragile, but burning with something stronger than revenge. Hope. I can't run, he said. Not without you. Her voice softened. You won't be running. You'll be waking up the stars. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Jace handed her the last EMP grenade from his belt. For when they get close, she gave a sad smile. Thank you. They stood there, eyes locked for a moment longer. Then he turned, and ran into the tunnel. Carrying the archive drive, the last breath of a forgotten truth, Alari turned back toward the hallway. Her bones hurt, her chest burned. But her voice was steady. She stood tall as the Gravewalkers entered. 10 of them masked, blades humming. One stepped forward. Return to silence, said Dot. Alari held up the grenade. You first. Flash of white, a roar, then silence. Far away, in orbit above the moon. A human listening station caught something strange. A signal, clear, untouched, buried deep in old tech, no one used. Anymore, the voice was female, tired, determined. Is Larry of the Vari? I was buried alive by those who feared the truth. But one human heard my whisper. He carries the archive. The Empire is a lie. Then, static. The commander of the station leaned forward. Get Earth Command on the line, now. Meanwhile, Jace's escape pod shot through the dark, his fingers gripping the archive like it was fire. He didn't know where to go yet, but he knew what to do. He would find someone who listened, because the stars needed to hear the truth, and no one buries the truth forever. The escape pod jolted as it entered deep space, silent engines running cold. Inside, Jace sat alone, blood on his sleeve, holding the data archive like it was sacred. Behind him, the hidden vault on the dead moon had gone dark. He didn't know if Ilari was alive, but he knew what she'd given him: truth. The stars ahead shimmered. It was heading toward an old human relay station off the grid, long abandoned. It was the only place close enough to send the data. Burst without being traced, but something was wrong. The sensors buzzed faintly, not an alarm, just off. Jace checked the radar. Nothing, and yet he felt it. A weight pressing on his chest, like something was watching him. He pulled up the visual scan of his tail. Nothing, then dash static. Then again nothing. His eyes narrowed. Don't play with me, he whispered. And that's when the first blade struck. The hull didn't shatter. Cracked just enough for air to hiss and panic to rise. Jace sealed the breach and spun the pod, aiming toward the station. But the moment he looked outside, he saw them, figures in black, clinging to the surface of the pod. Like insects in the dark, grave walkers, he cursed under his breath and armed the emergency boosters. The pod launched forward fast, violent, uncontrolled. The cloaked hunters were thrown off, but not far. One of them stabbed a magnetic tether into the pod's shell and began crawling back with unnatural speed. Jace opened the emergency hatch and leaned out with a shock blaster. He fired again and again. The tether snapped. The figure spun away into the void, but 3 more appeared. He slammed the hatch shut. Can't outrun them, he muttered. He had one option left. The old relay station. The station came into view drifting. Half-broken, silent. No lights, no welcome. Perfect. He landed hard, sparks flying. The pod hissed and steamed as Jace stepped out. His boots hit rusted steel. The station was dead. He liked it that way. He moved fast toward the main comms room. Lights flickered as he forced power back online. He connected the archive to the transmitter. Hummed. But as he watched the percentage climb, a chill ran down his spine. A chill ran down his spine. Behind him, something moved. He turned. A gravewalker stood in the doorway and it spoke. You cannot erase the silence. Jace raised his blaster. No, but I can ruin your day, he fired. The thing dodged like smoke, moving too fast. Its blade came out black, curved, humming softly. Jace ducked behind the console. Sparks flew as the blade struck metal. The upload hit 32%. Jace rolled out and slammed the butt of his weapon into the figures. Mask dot cracked, the mask broke. What was underneath wasn't alien. It was almost human. Pale, twisted, eyes like burning oil. Jace gasped. You're human, the thing hissed. We were made by your kind, fed to theirs. Bred to clean what you feared would rise again. The upload reached 55%, Jace. Backed away slowly. That makes us both betrayed. The gravewalker tilted its head. You understand? Too late. Then it lunged. But before it could strike, a blinding light filled the room. A second door burst open, and a figure stepped in. Cloak torn, skin burned, as golden Ellery. She raised her hand, palm glowing with a sigil torn from the vault's inner walls. I died once, she said. I won't die silent. The sigil flared, and a pulse shot through the station. The gravewalker screamed, falling to the floor. Its tech collapsed, its body twitching. Then still, Jace stared at Ilari. You survived? She nodded, breathing hard, Barely. How did you find me? You left a trail, she said. They followed you, so did I. The upload reached 88%, but suddenly red flashing. Signal jammed. Source detected. Outside hull, JACE, ran to the window. A sleek alien warship now hovered beside the station. Ilari's face turned cold. They've come to end the lie. Jace pulled the archive and grabbed a backup drone. We can't let the signal die. We won't, Ilari said. She pressed a crystal to the drone. The device lit up, locked on the relay coordinates, and launched out a back chute. The drone flew, fast toward deep space. Carrying the data, the warship began charging its cannons. Jace looked at Ilari. We're not making it out, are we? She smiled. Doesn't matter, she whispered. They can't stop the truth now. Outside, the drone vanished into warp light. Inside, Jace and Ilari stood side by side, watching the guns glow. No fear in there. Eyes only fire. Asterisk, the alien warship outside the station began charging its primary cannon. Energy spiraled along its sleek obsidian hull.
Ow.
Inside the forgotten relay station, the walls shook with every pulse. Ilari and Jace stood back to back. Two survivors holding the line with nothing but resolve. But they weren't alone anymore. As the data drone vanished into warp, triggered something hidden, something ancient, far beneath the surface of a distant planet forgotten by both humans and aliens. An Earth's relay tower lit up for the first time in centuries. The signal it received was encrypted in a format last used during the Silent Expansion. Deep below that tower, machines stirred, buried in black rock. Behind layers of decaying defense grids and collapsed bunkers, Project Valor blinked awake. Signal received. Source human origin. Priority intervention. The war machine began to rise. Back inside the relay station, Ilari gripped the rusted railing as the warship outside moved into firing position. We have maybe 30 seconds, Jace said, watching the readout. If they fire, this whole station will be dust. Ilari looked at him, eyes blazing gold. Then we make them remember what they forgot. Jace blinked. You got a plan? Yes, she said. I'm trusting a human again. Before he could respond, the ceiling groaned. The station's shield, slung inactive, suddenly pulsed back to life. A blue dome shimmered across the outer hull. What the Jace rushed to the control panel. That's not us. You didn't activate this. Outside, the warship hesitated. Something was wrong behind the alien vessel. Tear opened in space, not a normal jump. This was older, cracked, violent, and from it came a ship, not large, not polished, not like anything in the galaxy's fleets. It was angular, built for brutality, not beauty. It looked like it had punched through time itself. Its hull bore one word etched in faded Earth standard: Valor. Alien warship turned its weapons toward it. But it was already too late. Valor didn't fire beams or lasers. It spoke in thunder. A kinetic cannon slammed through the warship's side, ripping armor like paper. Debris scattered across space. Gravewalker vessel twisted and panicked, but Valor wasn't done. Its AI had awakened with a single mission: protect human life. Eliminate silencing protocols. Uphold forgotten oaths. It launched EMP bursts, anti-cloaking fields, and sonic destabilizers. All designed for one thing: fighting shadows. Fighting the lies. Inside the relay station, Jace could barely stand. What? Is that Ilari? Was trembling? I've heard legends, she whispered, of the gods of fire. The ships that vanished before our first breath. I thought they were myths. No, Jace said, eyes wide. That's not a myth. That's ours. The warship tried to retreat. Valor moved faster. Its core charged a final weapon: Earth's Tier solar spear. Outlawed in most of the galaxy. One hit, one streak of burning white, and the warship was gone. Not destroyed, erased. No pieces, no drift. Just nothing. Silence returned, but a different kind. A silence of shock. Later, aboard Valor, Jace, and Alari walked through its halls. The ship was empty, no crew, only machines and one voice. "Welcome, human. Welcome, origin linked." The AI spoke, directly into their minds, calm, measured, immense. "Your signal reactivated, Protocol Phoenix. Memory recovered." Potated. Screens lit up around them. Footage, hidden files, buried treaties, old betrayals. The galaxy had forgotten where it came from, but Earth hadn't. "Why now?" Jace asked. "Because now," the AI said, "you remembered." The drone had made it. Broadcasts exploded across space from forgotten satellites. Old Earth-aligned systems buried relay channels. The truth spread like wildfire. Ilari's message played across moons and ships. "I am Ilari, once buried for speaking, now risen with proof." And beside her, Jace, the scavenger turned witness. They became symbols, not of war, but of awakening. Nations that once bowed to lies began to question. Empires cracked, and somewhere deep in the archives of Earth's ancient defense council, a single sentence lit up. Humanity's silence is over. But something else stirred in Valor's core. A locked file, time-stamped 500 years. Go Jayak touched the screen. File unlocked, a recorded message began. A human woman in uniform, scarred, smiling. "If you're seeing this, it means the galaxy forgot, but you didn't. You found the first spark. Now find the others. We hid them across the stars. The truth isn't one flame, it's a chain." Jace looked at Ellery. She smiled. "We just lit the first." The stars burned quietly now, but not in silence. Across 100 systems, Ellery's voice echoed through forbidden channels, broken satellites, and old relay stations no one remembered. The message had reached even the coldest corners of space. The truth had broken free, and those who tried to bury it could no longer run. Inside the bridge of the ancient Earth warship Valor, Alari stood beside Jace. Her long white hair was tied back. Her bruises had healed. But her eyes, golden and steady, were sharper than ever. "They all believed I was dead," she said quietly. Jace nodded. "So did I for a second," she smiled. "Then you showed up." He leaned on the railing, watching systems light up on Valor's star map. "And now look, every sector we pass through gets louder. People rising, asking questions, demanding answers." "Truth is contagious," Alari whispered. The ship hummed beneath their feet. Valor had awakened something far bigger than either of them. Ancient code, still loyal to humanity's ideals, had begun unlocking hidden satellites, forgotten stations. Old A's that still remembered the oaths of Earth's first contact initiative. They hadn't meant to start a rebellion, but the galaxy had been waiting for one. The ruling empire of Ilari's people, the Vari Ascendancy, responded first, not. With words, with fire, ships were launched to silence planets airing Ilari's broadcast. Gravewalker squads were deployed in secret this time, not just to kill her, but to erase anyone who ever heard her speak. But they were too late. Every attempt to block the truth only made it stronger, because now others were rising. A former scientist on Telvec broadcast a hidden file that confirmed human genetic traces in the early Vari line. A historian on Duret Prime revealed excavation reports, human bones buried beneath alien temples. And the last spark came from within the Empire itself, a mother, a low-born alien woman, who stepped onto a broadcast platform with her young daughter and whispered, "My child has golden eyes. We are not ashamed." The broadcast reached billions before the signal was cut by then. The galaxy had already heard back aboard Valor. Jace stared at the expanding rebel network. "We're not just exposing lies," he said. "We're waking the dead." Alari turned toward him. "You don't know what it means to us," she said softly. "Our ancestors sang songs of the sky gods, of firewalkers and star changers. We called them myths. But those gods, they were human. They were you." Jace shook his head. "We're not gods. She nodded. No, just stubborn enough to dig up the truth. Then the ship, AI's voice echoed through the chamber. Signal detected. Open channel. Jace nodded. Go ahead. A face appeared on the screen, an older human woman in a black uniform. Earth insignia gleamed on her shoulder. Jace Rylan, she asked. And Ilaria the Vari. That's us, Jace replied. She smiled. This is Admiral Keen of Earth Command. You've caused quite a storm out here, didn't mean. Two, Jace said. Ilari stepped forward. We only wanted to be heard. Keen's face turned serious. Well, you were. And Earth's ready to speak back. You're a joint transmission, unlike anything in modern history. Humans and aliens appeared side by side on galactic networks. Ilari spoke first. She told her story of betrayal, out of burial, of survival. She stood. Not as a warrior, not as a victim, but as a witness. Then Jace spoke. Not as a soldier. Not as a hero, but as a human. One who stopped. One who listened. One who dug up the buried. Then Earth Command broadcast the archive, every secret, every record, even the parts that made humanity look bad. Especially those, because truth doesn't fear shame. It fears silence. The galaxy did not change in a day, but it did change. Some empires fell, others fractured, and in their place rose something new, a coalition of species who had once been pawns. Now awake, now angry, now alive, gravewalkers were hunted and dismantled. The Ascendancy's leaders were put on trial, and temples once guarded by lies were opened to light. In the heart of it all stood a new monument. On a moon once forgotten, beside a cracked alien gravestone where the wind once whispered death, now stood a simple sculpture. A woman standing, hand raised. A human beside her, holding a light. Beneath it, carved in 2 languages, they thought she was gone. But the living truth never sleeps. Laurie. And Jace stood before it quiet. She touched the stone. I still remember the cold, she whispered. Jace. Looked at her, and I still remember your voice. That's what brought me to you. She smiled gently, but her eyes held tears. Do you think they'll really listen now? She asked. He nodded. Maybe not all, he said, but enough. That was how it ended. Not with war, not with fire, but with one whisper in the dark answered.